Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another webinar organized by the Destination Knowledge Center. Today, we have a webinar on a very fascinating topic, which is the Red Panda Expedition in the Eastern Himalayas. Just to talk about the Red Panda is a mammal native to Eastern Himalayas and Southwest China. It has reddish brown fur, a long shaggy tail measuring not more than 2 feet in length and weighing not more than 10 kg. The red panda you will see in the pictures is truly adorable and a very photogenic animal. It is arboreal, meaning it lives on trees, feeds mainly on bamboos, but also eat eggs, birds, and insects. It's a solitary animal, mainly active at dusk to dawn, and is largely sedentary during the day. The red panda has been classified as endangered. Its population in the wild is estimated to be 10,000 mature individuals and continues to decline because of several reasons, such as loss of habitat. And where is the best place to see them? The best place to see them is the Singalila National Park. It is one of the most exotic Himalayan forests located in the Darjeeling district of West Bengal, Sikkim, and the Nepal tri-junction. It is a mystical forest located on the Singalila range at an altitude ranging between 7,000 feet to 12,000 feet above sea level. It is also well known for a trekking route to Sandakphu that falls through it, and is also famous for its ageless vintage Land Rovers. And to talk about these gorgeous creatures and more, we have with us Ali Rashid. Ali, please say hi to our attendees. Ali Rashid, who's Chief Executive Experience Curator, Field Naturalist, and Expedition Leader at Jehannuma Wilderness and Jehannuma Expeditions. And also we have with us Arvind D. Rose, who is Lodge Manager and Field Naturalist at the Renipani Jungle Lodge, and also Expedition Leader at Jehannuma Expedition. I hand over the webinar to both of you guys.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone.
Hi, good afternoon. Thank you, Kuntal, for this lovely introduction. Wishing everyone a good day wherever you all are. So, as Kuntal mentioned, that we represent a company called Jehannuma, and we have two brands, Jehannuma Wilderness, which runs lodges in central India, and we do these limited expeditions to some parts of India, one of them being the Red Panda trip that we do in the Singalila National Park in West Bengal. So Kuntal gave a good introduction about where it is and and where you can expect to see the Red Panda. Just going ahead, let me just give you a brief introduction to. Just hold on, my screen is frozen. I'm just going to unshare and then reshare the presentation. Just give me a minute. Can you all see the presentation? Yeah, so the location of Singalila National Park is in Darjeeling district. You can see it's right up here on the eastern side of India, on the Nepal, Sikkim, and West Bengal tri-junction. And this is a map of Darjeeling district. So the best way to get to to the Singalila National Park is through Siliguri, which is well connected to Delhi and to major Indian cities. This is also the gateway to other East Indian areas like Sikkim and other places. So the airport here is known as Bagdogra. So from Siliguri, the drive to Singalila National Park, which is somewhere over here, this portion on my screen here, is about 3.5 hours to get there. and there's a small town called Manibanjan, which is the entry point of this national park. So just a bit of information that typically Singalila National Park doesn't allow people to get in on the first day before 2 p.m. After 2 p.m. So ideally, whoever is wishing to come here should have a morning flight landing into Siliguri, because you need 3 hours at least to drive up to Manibanjan, and then you can go and enter the park. As Kuntil was also mentioning, apart from Red Panda, this park is quite well known for the Singalila trek, and also the point Sandakfu, which is the highest point in West Bengal, is located within this park. Actually, Singalila is more famous for its trek and less so for the wildlife, and that's how we kind of got interested in this area, because before 2015 there wasn't much activity happening in terms of red panda tourism, and we thought that this would be a good opportunity to showcase one of the iconic species of the eastern Himalayas. As an itinerary also, I'm sure you all must be knowing the area quite well, and Darjeeling can be linked very well after the Red Panda trip. It's just as you see, just a short distance away, and just about an hour and a half drive from Manebanjan, and there's obviously some nice hotels there to stay and explore the area. So just getting into the park, the park is the entry point is Manibanjan, and then you go. There's a road which is actually leading through the park, and basically on the left side of the road, if you see the northern side, this side is actually Nepal, and this side is India. So pretty much the road is the border of India and Nepal, and we stay at this place called Kala Pokhri, which is right over here. And this is one of the better places to see red panda. So both sides, on the India side is the Singalila National Park, and on the Nepal side is the Tinchule forest. So Kala Pokhri is surrounded by good red panda habitat, and it's one of the best places to see this animal. Going up further, you can go to Sandakfu also, which is the highest point in West Bengal, and it has great views of the top five, except for K2, which is obviously in Pakistan. But the top five, apart from K2, the top five peaks of the world you can see, including Everest, Kanchenjunga, and the others. So here's just a view of the Kanchenjunga, and you can see the sleeping Buddha formation, which you can see clearly. This is a small village called Tumling, where you can have a great view of the sleeping Buddha, and these are some of the highest peaks that you can see, on the trek. So in terms of season, the Red Panda trip is good right through from October, November. December and January is also good, but it gets quite cold. And then February, March, April are great months. Good time to view mountains like this is October, November, when the skies are very clear. And February, March, April are characterized by clear mornings, but by midday it becomes quite foggy. So ideally, the mountain views are only good in the morning. But the good part in March and April is that the rhododendron starts flowering, and you have these red and pink mountain slopes. Here you can see in this photo it's mostly green, but in the months of March, April, it becomes different hues of reds and pinks and whites, and it's really beautiful, and that attracts a lot of birds. So for views and red panda, October, November is great. For birding and red panda, March, April are the best months, but you can do it right throughout, from October to April. And as Kuntil was saying, it is obviously the land of the Land Rover. At least in the Indian context, you have these old 1950s Land Rover models which are flying up and down as tourist vehicles, and it's something of a heritage in this area, and most of the locals are very proud of owning and operating these Land Rovers. So in the recent last 1 year, we've started using other vehicles also, just a little bit for comfort. But if people want to experience this heritage Land Rover, it definitely can be arranged. But this is very much part of the landscape, the Land Rover. So coming to the Red Panda, so I'm just going to first show you some of the images that we have been able to capture on our trips. As Kuntal was saying, the Red Panda is, quite a small animal, arboreal. You'll almost always find it on trees. Sometimes they do come to the ground mostly to drink water, or to cross certain sections of the forest where there's no, forest canopy. There's a red panda here eating its favorite food, bamboo. So just going through some photos that we've seen on the last few trips that we have done. Singalila also gets quite misty. So here there's a photo of, panda. There's a documentary that came out on red pandas called Cherub of the Mist. And pretty much this is, most of the times you would see red panda a lot of times in this sort of condition, and this is actually, this sort of image really gives the feel of how the red panda lives in this sort of eastern Himalayan landscape. So this is the rhododendron season. You can see some flowers also, and during the peak flowering, it gets much more colorful. But it's a really pretty sight in those days. So just a little more information about the red panda. I think Kuntal gave a bit of information, but I'll just carry on a little more. So we have two subspecies of red panda. One is the western red panda and one is the Staines red panda. What we get in India is the western red panda, which is found in India, Nepal, and Burma. And what you get in China and eastern parts of Burma is the Staines red panda. Both look quite similar. So red panda, as we were discussing earlier, it is an endangered species under the IUCN Red List. Um, it is found in India within the states of West Bengal, Sikkim, Meghalaya, and Arunachal Pradesh. But the best place to see them and the most reliable place to see them is Singalila National Park. Not because the other habitats don't have these species, it's because through the years, we've been able to train really good trackers, and we've got a good team, and some other operators also have good teams where the people are going out regularly and searching for these pandas and keeping a track of the pandas. And in the Nepal side, there's also the Red Panda Network, which is a US based NGO which regularly keeps tracking the pandas, and we keep getting information from them about the whereabouts. So as Kuntal was saying, that there are certain conservation threats also. One of them is habitat fragmentation and degradation, which is quite prevalent most of the Himalayan region. Another is predation by feral dogs. So these areas have a lot of dogs, and this is one major problem. And it used to be more predominant before, but it's become less. But hunting and poaching is still a problem, especially because of the fur that the pandas have. So this has a bit of a demand, but it's gone down considerably in recent years. It's a small animal, usually weighing not more than 7 kilograms. The length is also at most, with tail included, less than 1 meter usually, and height at shoulder is also quite small, 30 centimeters in height. The behavior of the panda is a solitary animal, usually active at dusk and dawn and through the night also. Mostly, as we were saying, arboreal, which is up, staying up on the trees, unless it comes down, for the water. The habitat is very interesting, and this is what makes it most vulnerable, is that red pandas only thrive in forests which are at an altitude of 2,200 to 4,800 meters above sea level. So it's got a very restricted range, and it's only found in the eastern Himalayan region. And it also only prefers mixed deciduous and conifer forests with thick bamboo undergrowth. So it's a very defined forest type, because it's bamboo. So it has very defined altitudinal range and very defined habitat type. So most of the specialist species around the world are the ones which face threats. Generalist species like the red fox, which is present almost in all continents, also wolves. These are all generalist species which can survive varying habitats, and they have chances of better survival. But specialist species always have a threat because they can only survive in a certain habitat which is now under so much pressure because of humans. As we are mentioning, and Kuntal explained very well, the diet is primarily bamboo but supplemented by fruits and flowers, nuts, and certain types of insects. Breeding behavior is very interesting. They're very slow breeders, and mating usually happens in January and February. And one of the most interesting facts about red panda is that the female is only receptive to mating just in a single day of a year. So you can imagine how important it is to have a very undisturbed habitat during their mating time. The young are usually born in the monsoon months when there's plenty to eat, especially bamboo. Usually 1 or 2 cubs are born blind, and the mother raises them alone. And the nest is usually in a hollow in a tree. So these are some of the interesting facts. Also, red panda's key adaptation is the extra thumb which it uses to hold on or clasp bamboo when it's feeding. Apart from red panda, this whole area, this region is a hotspot for birds. Singalila has almost 265 bird species, and in terms of mammals also, it has a good list of mammals. Now I can't recall the exact mammal count, but some of the iconic mammals are the leopard cat. There have been records of clouded leopard also. You have the munjak, which is the barking deer. You have the marten, the yellow-throated marten. You've got the weasels, and some types of civets, the Himalayan masked civet. So various mammals, but they are difficult to see because it's a dense forest. And primarily, you would tend to see red panda more than any other mammal. Moving to the birds, satyr tragopan is one of the key finds over there. Apart from that, all other birds are extremely colorful. This is the red crossbill, which is an extremely colorful bird. The pink-browed rosefinch, even the black-faced laughing thrush. So a lot of different variety of birds, and whatever you see is unique over here because it's so difficult to see it. Just moving to the homestay, so we actually we have a partner there called Chawang Lodge, and this is a basic homestay, but the idea of this whole program was to keep it as local as possible, and we tied up with the local homeowner to give him incentives. So as I was also discussing with the team here, that idea is to have the local person own the homestay itself so that the revenues go directly to them, and they get incentivized as more efficient stakeholders by actually owning the facilities. So they do a really good job. It is simple, but you get a real local experience. The family runs it. The children over there cook the food. You can meet the parents, and they are always interacting with you, and it's a very good localized experience. The bedrooms are also simple, but you have a good sleep quality, and there's good mattresses, good clean bed sheets. We also, because Singalila is characterized by cold weather, usually it would be in single digits when you're doing a trip, and it could go below zero in Kalapokri, because Kalapokri, where this homestay is located, is about 3,000 meters above sea level. So it could go below zero, so you have to be well dressed and well clad, and we do provide heating in the room. So the toilets are attached. Here you have running water and flush toilets. The showers, we provide bucket baths, so that hot water and buckets, so that first of all there's less usage of water also, because all these Himalayan landscapes, water is a bit of a problem. And we don't have running hot showers, but they're very happy to provide you hot buckets at whatever time you require. Just another shot of the room here. This is the dining space. This is the family kitchen, which is adjoining the dining space. So fresh meals are cooked right in this kitchen and served to you by the family that runs this place. And just some shots of the guests enjoying the experience. So Singalila, as Kuntal was earlier mentioning, also has a very good trekking route. And the way the experience is handled is that we have a team of trackers who actually go out searching for the panda. Apart from these roads, the forest is quite dense, and it's not very easy to track the panda on your own. So the trackers actually go out early morning searching for tracks, signs, and getting information, while the guests can use these sort of trails, the jeep roads or trekking trails, to go out birding, to go out seeing the landscape, to go out seeing the views. As soon as the panda is tracked, then they send out word to us, and guests have to walk till there, or if it's along a motorable road like this, then the vehicles can take you to the last motorable point, and after that you will have to walk a little bit. So the idea is that the guests are engaged by trekking, by bird watching, and the trackers go out early morning searching, and then the information is shared by midday, and if by midday there's no sighting, then by the end of the day. So you can just see some guests enjoying the experience, and another trip that we did. So we've been doing this for the last 4 years, and we've had till now, nothing is guaranteed in wildlife, but till now we have 100% record also in finding red pandas. So hopefully that will not change in the near future. That's about it. I won't make it too long. Now we'll be happy. I've got my colleague here also, Irvin, who's here. We'll be happy to take any questions if you have.
Arvind, why don't you share with us some of your experiences while tracking a red panda? What has been your most memorable experience?
Red Panda, absolutely. Singalila is absolutely one of the most beautiful places on the eastern Himalaya. And definitely seeing a red panda is special when you know the population is actually so thin. And seeing one is, you feel really joyful at that time. The most fantastic sighting I ever had of a panda was when me and our guests were with three red pandas, a mother and two cubs, for nearly 2.5 to 3 hours all by ourselves. And we maintained a very good distance from them. And these pandas were playing, and the mother was trying to move them from one tree to another. And all of a sudden, in between all this situation, we had the fourth panda, which is hard to say whether it was the dad or not, but we had a huge, big male panda on the tree at the side of us, which we had not noticed all this while we were so engrossed in these three pandas. So seeing four pandas all together was, I think, one of the best sightings we had so far there. But absolutely, as Ali was mentioning, it's a beautiful expedition, not just to see the panda, but to be in these local homestays and experience the local cuisine, their local hospitality, which is very, very welcoming to the guests, what they have. And also, once we have a great panda sighting, we tend to take the guests to Sandakphu, if you remember seeing on the map, which is the highest point in Bengal. And from there, the sunrises are very beautiful because the sleeping Buddha is perfectly in light when the golden light falls on it early part of the morning. So we tend to leave when it's dark and be there for the golden light falling on Kanchenjunga, so that the sleeping Buddha is visible. So altogether, it's a fantastic trip.
Will tell us something. I mean, these pandas, when you spot them for the first time, are they like kind of shy animal who would retreat, or they would keep watching you? How is the encounter?
They are not very shy animals, to be very honest, unlike leopards or tigers, which, would run away. So when our tracker actually finds them, he just maintains good distance, and he sends us a message either by a telephone call or sends a tracker back to the homestay to call the guest, because these guys leave pretty early. And we tend not to go with the trackers because we, of course, can't compete to their pace of walking. So we may ruin their tracking at that time because they won't be able to cover a lot of ground. But once the panda is seen, it's absolutely very comfortable if you maintain good distance with it and just be quiet. They do their job, they're sleeping, they're eating bamboo leaves and stuff like that. So it's not like viewing a tiger or a leopard which would just run away into the forest. Sometimes we find the panda in the morning and we go back in the evening, it's still on the same tree. So this, in terms of sighting, not a problem. And even sometimes you may get a long distance shot, but sometimes they even close to photographers with 400 mm lens as well.
Right. And to talk about the food that you serve in these homestays, what kind of food do you serve to clients?
In terms of food, as per our standards of Januma Wilderness, we do take our supplies. So there's a good amount of supplies which is taken from us, such as cereals and eggs and bread and stuff like that. But also, if the guest is willing to try the local cuisine, the homestay will prepare it, and even the homestay will, serve it to the clients. But mutton, chicken, and stuff like that is also served from time to time. So it's a proper three-course meal. And when we are out for trekking, in the middle, the boys would bring a tea station, hot cup of tea, coffee, hot chocolate, cookies, and stuff like that would also be served.
Like, and Ali, I would like to ask you one question. Like, for example, the Red Panda Expedition, the trekker goes early in the morning, look for pandas, he spots them. So
Yeah.
at what time do clients actually leave the lodge and kind of return?
So it depends. That's what when the trackers go out searching, we actually go with the guests on some easier routes for bird watching and this and that. So typically, you would have breakfast by 8 or 8:30, and the trackers would leave by 7 itself. So guests would eat by 8 or 8:30, and by after breakfast by 9 o'clock, we would slowly go, because in Singalila, because it's cold, even the bird activity and all starts late. So 9, 9:30, 10, when the sun is out, the activity becomes good. So you would go out birding by 9. And for example, if there's no sighting, you would usually go out for a short 2.5, 3 hour walk. You won't be covering much distance, but because you'll be seeing so many things, you'll be searching for various mostly birding, and then coming back by around 12 o'clock to the homestay, then rest till lunch, have lunch, and then you follow a similar activity in the afternoon. When the pandas are seen, then you just go straight away. Sometimes the trackers go, say at 7 o'clock, they leave, and 7:30 the panda is seen. So message comes, guests are pretty much getting out of bed quickly, just literally brushing their teeth, washing up and leaving, and we have breakfast on the field itself. We might not even have time to have breakfast, because as Irwin was saying, that once panda is seen, you do see it for a long time, but to find a panda is the challenge, because the forest is quite dense. A lot of times it gets misty, and these are not the last count we know of Singalila Park is 30 pandas. So the area is large, and to find one of 30 animals. And in Kala Pokri area, there's about 5, 6 resident pandas in that area. So to find one of those is the challenge. Once it's found, then definitely it stays there for a long time. So, and that's why we keep the trip for about 6 nights. Typically, we recommend it for 6 nights, because as we were discussing earlier, the weather is also unpredictable. Sometimes you could have 1 or 2 days of just fog, where you can't really do much. So we are actually sitting more at the homestay, just taking short walks to engage ourselves. But the naturalist or the tour leader who's with the guests is talking about a lot of wildlife related aspects. So you could have days like that. You could have very action packed days where suddenly you're literally not out of bed and you're off for the viewing. Or you could have other days where you're walking and birding, and then getting a little bit of information and not seeing the panda that day. So it varies, but the typical drill is that the guys go out in the morning with the focus to see the panda, because obviously it is a species based program.
Right. That sounds very exciting and adventurous.
Correct.
Right.
And just to add, like how Irwin was saying, we take guests once the panda sightings have happened. Then we take people to Sandakphu. We also do a bit of culture. Kala Pokri itself is a nice village with a lot of local homes. So there's quite a few other villages there. So you can actually go and meet different people there, see their lifestyle. Even the cuisine that you are talking about, they cook the thupka, you know, the Tibetan kind of food, the Tibetan momos, the local bread. All these sort of things can be eaten apart from the standard meals that are served at the homestay.
So you have people of Tibetan origin there, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
And one more thing excites a lot of us is the Land Rovers. I mean, it's
Correct.
probably the last land of the Land Rovers, you can say, in as
Correct.
far as India is concerned. Can you tell us more? I mean, are these Land Rovers exciting journey? Is it something that you recommend, or is it not for everyone, or it's for everyone?
No, so typically it's definitely one of the iconic things to do over there because these Land Rovers, even Land Rover itself as the brand, the 70th year video they shot in Singalila. So on YouTube and on the Land Rover website and all, it's available. So the company itself recognizes the value it has for its cars. So these are, 1950 model Land Rover, and definitely it is something which could be done. But I would say because the roads in Singalila, there a lot of them are now they're cementing some of the roads, but most of the roads are these cobblestone roads, so they're quite bumpy. So I would say that guests who are reasonably fit and don't have any back issues or some issues like that, they can experience that. But elderly people and people who want a little more comfort, I would recommend the other options. You know,
Okay.
because definitely Land Rovers are flying around. So for a photo opportunity, or if someone wants to take a short ride, our supplies come in the Land Rover. So if someone wants to just take a short ride, that is possible. But Manebanjan to Kala Pokhri is almost a 2.5 hour drive. So that drive on a very bumpy road becomes quite challenging for someone who's elderly and may have a back issue or something
Right,
like that.
and talking about the terrain of the jungle out there, is it a very challenging terrain, or is it like doable for all guests of all ages?
So on the roads which you saw, like the man walking on the photo with the man walking on the road, those roads are gently sloped, and people of all ages you should have a bit of walking ability, in the sense, be a regular walker, that we would recommend on this sort of trip. But those people who don't want to walk much also, we have the vehicles on backup at all times. So for example, a panda is seen 2 kilometers away from the homestay. The guest will be driven to the point where the last motorable point, and you have to walk slowly. So we have the option of private porters. We have a team of trackers who help the guests. All that is possible. So even if you don't walk much, as long as you're comfortable, because it's a species based program, and sometimes searching for the panda takes time. So as long as the guest is comfortable sitting and waiting for a long time, being able to walk helps, because it helps you actually see the landscape. It helps you pass the time till the trackers find the red panda. It helps you see different species of birds, see the views. But if you can't walk much, then there's a lot of sitting and waiting. So if the guest is fine with that, and their priority is to see the panda, and they don't mind waiting, then they can do that. And the Land Rovers or the other vehicles are there to take them to the last motorable point. And then, if the panda is about, say, 100 meters off the road, then our trackers and porters will help the guest, as long as it takes. As we said, the panda doesn't usually run away, or they stay there for a while. So that way, there's not such a risk of missing sightings if you're not a very good walker.
Right. So let's take the questions now, Ali. We have 5 questions already.